Good morning, everybody. Want to thank you for joining us this morning and coming to the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce offices. This desk you are at, this table you're at, has been actually a busy one over the last 6 or so months with our Better Together coalition. And I want to thank everybody who's here, who's really been here almost every month, a couple times a month. Advanced SF, the Bay Area Council, BOMA, Downtown SF Partnership, the Golden Gate Restaurant Association, Hotel Council of San Francisco, SF New Deal, SF Travel, Spur, and the Union Square Alliance. So thank you very much for all of your work. And really briefly, this group has come together to make suggestions to finally get on the same page at the same table to understand what our needs are for San Francisco, make recommendations to the mayor's office. The mayor's office is gracious in understanding and listening to many of those requests, and that is part of where we're going today. So again, thank you for coming today, and I want to turn it over to Mayor London Breed.
All right, good morning. Is it still morning? Yeah. Okay, I've been at a few things already, so it's great to be here with all of you. Is this even working? Testing, 1, 2.
It's working to us.
It's working to you guys? You guys don't have a you don't have a microphone?
The sound is.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, first of all, thank you all so much for being here. It's definitely been a really long road to recovery, and I just want to take us back a little bit because San Francisco needs to be reminded of who we are. And many of you were at my State of the City address when I specifically talked about some of the challenges that we've overcome, and in fact, consistently, whether it's after the gold rush, after the earthquake, after the various pandemics that occurred, oftentimes people consistently have tried to write a different narrative about San Francisco and what we are. Now, like any other major city, we know we have problems. We know we need to combat the issues around crime and public safety and affordability and transportation. But I am optimistic about the future because what we're seeing in San Francisco is something like nothing else before. We have the possibility to be whatever we want to be. And just to remind us of what we used to be, think about Mission Bay and what Mission Bay used to be. Mission Bay was nothing but railroad tracks, a golf shooting range, and an Esprit outlet. And now it's the newest, hottest neighborhood in San Francisco with Chase Arena, where the Warriors play, where concerts occur, where so many great things happening. And in fact, it was flooded with people over the weekend when the Grateful Dead did its second or third final concert. And the fact is, people want to be here. They're excited about San Francisco. And I'm sure many of you have spent a lot of time out and about at events, at activities, enjoying our parks and open space, enjoying our neighborhoods, and seeing even a revitalization of our neighborhoods with a lot of new businesses, a lot of places to eat, and excitement. The excitement is in the air, so where do we go from here? Rodney, thank you so much for the work on the chamber and for your comments about recommendations, but part of it is not just recommendations, it's advocacy. We need your support and advocacy more than ever because oftentimes what is happening, as many of you know, policies are being made without an understanding of the impacts that it's creating on businesses. I mean, I have been talking to companies all over the San Francisco. I've been meeting with a lot of small business owners, trying to get at the heart of what are some of their issues. And a lot of their issues center around uncertainty about their economic future and the ability to survive in a place like San Francisco, especially for our startups and especially for our new businesses that are all over our neighborhoods and community. And so what do we need to do? Of course, we need to revitalize downtown, and we need to continue to push upon the various strategies that we plan. In fact, in my State of the City address this February, I made it clear that our economic recovery, specifically as it relates to downtown, needs to center around a number of things, which Sarah Dennis Phillips will highlight and talk about today, not just what I said we were going to do, but actually what we've been doing. I'm really excited about the progress we've made around supporting businesses and removing barriers around taxes to create some level of economic certainty. And my hope is that working with this group, we'll be able to take some real tax reform measures to the ballot next year. I'm excited about some of the things that we've done around first year free. And this is why almost 5,000 new small businesses have opened their doors all over San Francisco because of first year free and the investments that we're making to make it a lot easier for people to do business in San Francisco. And so we know a lot of work to do, but I gotta just kind of highlight a couple of perspectives before I turn it over to Sarah. Many of us talked about this deficit. What are we going to do? How are we going to provide incentives around taxes? How are we going to transform public safety? How are we going to do all these things and close a $780 million budget deficit? Well, guess what? We did. We did it with maintaining these programs, providing tax incentives, but also investing in public safety like never before. We saw just recently one of the largest police academy classes that we've seen since before the pandemic. And my hope is that we will begin to see the numbers increase. With our increase in pay, our retention bonuses, and other incentives, we saw less officers retire. And we are looking forward to continuing to do our recruitment efforts in order to increase our law enforcement agency, because at the end of the day, with our ambassadors and our various programs and having eyes and ears on the streets, there is a need for police officers to not only be out there, but also to do the investigations and the work necessary to keep the people of San Francisco safe. You hear about a lot of the various incidents that occur, but oftentimes what you don't hear about is the hard work that goes into recovering merchandise and making the arrest and making sure that people understand they will not be able to get away with the crimes that they have committed in our city. And although from a larger perspective, we know that a lot of violent crime and other things are down, especially compared to other major cities in the country, but we also have a lot of work to do around burglaries in this city. And my hope is that working together with increasing the police force, with some of the cameras that we're going to be implementing all over the city, and some of this great work, and it will help to transform what we need to do around public safety. So I'm looking forward to that. So what we're seeing in terms of a change with this new hope and this new optimism, and also this great weather, by the way, we're seeing an increase in office attendance by 42%. So we're looking forward to folks returning to the office, because I think people are tired of working from home in their pajamas. They may not want to come back to work 5 days a week in an office, but they're probably, FOMO, fear of missing out. They're missing out on all the great things that are happening in the city. We're no longer a financial district downtown. We're activating downtown with events. We're creating entertainment zones where people are able to have great events and not deal with so much bureaucracy with the city. We're continuing to support a lot of our downtown small businesses and reactivating our plazas, transforming our plazas, and thinking about what's possible. And look, I get it. People want something right now. They want fast, instant, and so talking about, for example, a soccer stadium in the future doesn't seem like it's within reach, but look at Chase Center. Chase Center was talked about years before it was even built, and now it's home to the national champions, the Golden State Warriors. I mean, they didn't win this last time, but they won before. Don't worry, we'll be back. So not only that, as I said, concerts and other activities. We're seeing also an increase in office demand. Artificial intelligence is starting to take flight in San Francisco like nothing else, and it's not happening anywhere in the world. In fact, of the top 20 companies of artificial intelligence, the top 20, 13 are in the Bay Area and 8 in San Francisco. And all of the investments are happening right here in San Francisco. Just in the first quarter of this year, over $15 billion of investment in artificial intelligence. And now the AI companies are on the hunt for 800,000 square feet of office space. So open up your doors and open up the opportunities and be willing to be creative around how we use spaces in downtown San Francisco. Speaking of using spaces, we've also made it a lot easier for people to convert. So office space, maybe the ceilings are too low to do a building like this, but lab space and office space requests housing are on the rise, especially in downtown. So we have, almost a 30% vacancy rate with our office space, but for the life sciences, for biotech, for the folks who are creating these new alternative medicines and foods and all these other things, 3.7% vacancy rate. So we know that if we make some adjustments and we allow some of our newer buildings to be adapted for uses of that nature, there could be some significant possibilities. And I'm looking forward to making it a lot easier, and Sarah will talk a little bit about some of the changes we've already made for conversion to housing and lab space. But more importantly, our big victory around changing the inclusionary numbers for housing in order to get more housing built in San Francisco. We expect 23.3 million visitors in 2023, up 6.2% from 2022. And I believe next year we'll be back to pre-pandemic levels. We have conventions and other activities planned for this year, including, of course, Dreamforce is still a big hit in San Francisco, but nothing will be like APEC, the Asian Pacific Economic Collaborative. That event is going to be such a significant event. And just to help you understand the magnitude of APEC, right? Now, about 40,000 people will be in San Francisco, and that's about the same for Dreamforce. But the difference is we have 21 heads of state. We have about 1,200 CEOs who are committed. We have thousands of delegates and other people from countries all over the world. And in fact, this is the most significant international event San Francisco has ever seen. No event of this magnitude has ever existed in the city since 1945, when the United Nations was established. That is the other global significant. Now, we've had heads of state and global folks and international events, but not of this magnitude with 21 heads of state. And what this means for San Francisco is significant. So when you think about it and what that's going to do to drive the economy, what it's going to do to open the businesses, especially from Asia. Asia is a place where many visitors, when you look at the tourism numbers, you know, hotels that are, from my understanding, close to the 80% occupancy rate it was before the pandemic. Well, think about if the doors were open from Asia and what that would mean for conventions, for visitors, and for all the things necessary to get San Francisco on the road to recovery. Our head of state, our president, as well as the president of China, plan to do a groundbreaking meeting here. Fingers crossed that will happen, along with so many other great things and innovative opportunities around growth and development and business. It is our opportunity to shine as a city. We will have over 1,000 foreign press. It is our opportunity to present San Francisco in a way that demonstrates what we're capable of and to get people excited about coming to San Francisco. You've been hearing from probably visitors who have said, San Francisco is not what people are saying it is. I mean, again, let's be clear, we have problems. But at the same time, they're like, this is like other cities I've been to. They have these same problems, in some cases worse. I'm not going to put a city down and use anyone as an example, but the fact is, like any major city, we have challenges, but people are pleasantly surprised when they're coming to San Francisco and they're having these really great experiences. So I'm really excited about what we are doing and what we're going to continue to do to improve San Francisco for the future. I want to just touch a bit on transportation and Muni in particular. We're seeing increasing in the number of people who are riding Muni to approximately 33,000 weekday boardings from the start of 2023. And BART ridership is up by 25,000 daily riders. So we're seeing people more and more rely on public transportation to get to the downtown area. It's why we brought back the One California and why we're trying to create easier options for people to use public transportation to come downtown more and more and more, because I think people want reliable transportation. They want to make sure the buses are safe and the buses are clean, and those are things that we're working on, and so that people have better experiences on our public transportation system, along with our plans to do a number of public safety initiatives, quick build, where we're able to do bub outs, pedestrian safety, but more importantly, our red bus lanes in order to move people rapidly from the west side of the city into downtown area, quick and efficient, so they don't want to use their vehicles. So I'm really excited about that. I talked about a lot of things, but I do want to touch on one of the most pressing issues that seem to get a lot of attention in the city, and that is a lot of the open air drug dealing and using. The fact, again, I go back to this is not a problem unique to San Francisco. There are so many other cities all over the country that are dealing with this, and I have been in touch with mayors to figure out ways in which we can collaborate. In fact, through the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I was able to get a number of co-sponsors for a resolution asking the Biden administration to do more to help us with this problem, because it is not a San Francisco problem. It is a world problem. It involves a number of other countries, and it involves our various federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies who have been working very hard to help us combat it. I am grateful to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who has been really incredible in providing support with the Drug Enforcement Agency, as well as support from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they've been working hand in hand with the California Highway Patrol, as well as San Francisco Police Department. Their efforts have been really amazing. And just to give you a few numbers, and this is just the police department numbers, but year to date, there have been at least 502 arrests for drug possession of sales. That number has far exceeded last year's numbers in total. So year-to-date numbers now for arrest for possessions and also for public intoxications have increased significantly. So we are arresting people for committing illegal acts on our street, whether they're selling drugs or using drugs or what have you, with a goal of trying to get people into services, into treatment, but ultimately accountability, because that has been a big piece of the puzzle that's been missing. And what I appreciate about the department is all the work that they've done to really get us to a place where the CHP, they're seizing fentanyl and drugs and weapons with the work that they're doing, specifically targeted to the South of Market area and the Tenderloin community. It's made a world of difference. The police are doing incredible work as well, and we are grateful to the DEA because a lot of their work leads to arrests that involve the federal court system rather than the local court system, which has been very challenging for us to get accountability introduced into the fold. So that's been a game changer. And we believe with that, along with UN Plaza, some investments we're making to create a skate park, a carnival starting, I think Thursday is going to be pretty amazing, activating, allowing families to not just come to a farmer's market twice a week, but to do more every single day in the area. That is what's going to be a game changer for what we need to do to turn UN Plaza around and to deal with this crisis that has challenged our streets so significantly. I can go on and on and on and talk about, so many great things that are happening in the city. But I know Sarah wants to talk about, our progress on our recovery. So our progress really is, this is what I said we were going to do, this is what we've done, and this is how much more we still have to do. And the reason why this was important to come to the San Francisco Chamber to talk about it, especially with so many of you who represent these various agencies, is we need more than just a letter of support for policies that we try to push through. We need advocacy. We need advocacy in a very aggressive way, because I do think that it's important that not only you as the leaders who understand what's going on, but you as the leaders who you have a number of people that you represent. And those people should be made aware directly and how easy it is for them to send an email or to make a phone call to members of the Board of Supervisors when we're trying to push things through. I will say that when we fought for the overtime budget for the police department before the budget, we got a lot of support from community and a number of community organizations who rallied folks to get people to submit letters and to advocate. And that wasn't even really for, it was to keep what we had at the very basic level. And my goal is to get us to a better place, of course, but we need advocacy, we need support, we need people to not only write letters and send emails, but we also need them to show up to Board of Supervisor meetings and to make sure people understand the impacts of the decisions that we're trying to push through and what it not just means for downtown, what it means for the city as a whole. So if downtown doesn't recover, then guess what? All those programs that the board is approving and want to pay for, those programs don't happen. we have to cut, cut, cut. And even though this year we were able to balance the budget, next year the budget is going to be harder to balance. It's going to be a lot harder, and the cuts are going to hurt even more. So my hope is that we can continue to work together to get the city on the right path and to make sure that the business community is at the forefront of helping us not only craft the decisions, but also get those decisions through. We're going to have to take a number of things to the ballot. We're going to have to take another number of things to the Board of Supervisors. And my goal, again, is to continue to work as collaboratively with them as possible to help them to understand the significance of this. I think they're starting, some of them get it more than others, but I think that they're starting to get it because this was a real struggle for them to make a decision around the budget this past year. And my hope is that we'll be able to move forward. And as I said, just to remind people of who we are as San Franciscans, I mean, we took the Embarcadero, which was a freeway, and tore it down. And Jim Wonderman is smiling because he was a part of the time and the effort to push for that. But you know, San Francisco was built differently over the years. It went from being horse and carriage to cable cars, and by the way, the cable car was invented in San Francisco. And then it went to these rail cars and then vehicles, and you know, the Western Addition was torn apart and split up with Japantown and Western Addition to create a freeway like Gary Boulevard to get people to and from the downtown area faster, and this was just a financial district. Now San Francisco really is, with all of these changes and things, it's important to remember that when change happened, we didn't just say San Francisco is doomed or things are over or it's not coming back. You know, retail is different now. People shop online. They shop differently than they ever did before, but luxury retailers are doing great in San Francisco. In fact, many of them are expanding, but it's still different how retail has changed here in our city. So as things evolve, how do we come up with the most creative ideas to transform San Francisco in a way that can get people excited? And I go back to this in terms of a soccer stadium in the heart of downtown and what that could mean, not just soccer, but concerts, activities, events. How do we make San Francisco downtown more than a financial district with housing, with all kinds of other spaces, not a place that's a ghost town at night or on the weekends? How to revitalize it and get more people living down here. This is why I invited UC, not just UCSF, but the UC system, Berkeley and other institutions, educational institutions, to start thinking about how can we start to repopulate the downtown with students, with activity, with excitement every single day, like any other neighborhood in San Francisco. It's the place that looks at something that is going on now and creates a possibility of something that can be done better. Pier 70 was not available and open to the public for over 150 years. The power plant, those are neighborhoods that we would have never touched, and look at what they're going to become for San Francisco. That's where I did my State of the City, and I did it to prove a point. It's important for us to remember who we are, not as others defined us, but as what we know we are, and to roll up our sleeves in order to get the work done for this city. And I'm excited to continue to work with the Chamber and the various organizations who are here to get it done. Last but not least, I think I said that already, but I'm saying it again. I want to just, talk a little bit about APEC and about some various initiatives around communicating to the public and to people all over the world our messaging for what San Francisco is. One of the things that we're doing with APEC is we're getting the communities and people excited about how they can participate in APEC, how this is going to be an economic engine, and we're doing that by talking about San Francisco as a city at first, the place that invented the television, the place that invented the cable car, the place that invented Levi's jeans, the denim that actually, is enjoyed and everybody else has taken it and tried to perfect it, but it started right here in San Francisco. And I talk about that because it does all start here. It starts in San Francisco. When we talk about innovation and creativity, I mean, shoot, the clap-on and the Chia Pet were invented in San Francisco. And when you think about it, everybody wants a smart home now to make it easier by phones and everything else to turn on their lights or to turn on whatever condition they want in their homes or their beds or whatever you call it. And when I think about innovation, creativity, and technology, it all starts here. It starts in San Francisco. And we need to make sure that we're reminding the public through our efforts around campaigning and talking about and advertising and getting people to love San Francisco. We have to start talking about it differently. We're working with Advance SF as well. They're working to create a whole nother campaign that also outlasts the APEC push, but a campaign to get people excited about what San Francisco has been and what San Francisco will continue to be. Because it's not okay for others to say what we are. It's time that we make it clear who we are. And I'm looking forward to doing that and turning the narrative around. So thank you all so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Breed. I am Sarah Dennis Phillips. I've met many of you, not all of you. I joined Mayor Breed 2 months ago as director of our Office of Economic and Workforce Development. And so the mayor went over the most exciting points of what I'm going to talk about. So this is going to be a little lackluster, but, and there we go. Actually, I'm going to go back one. I'm here to talk about the 6 months in that we've done on our roadmap to San Francisco's recovery. In February 2020, COVID hit. Its impacts extended far beyond public health, leaving permanent changes on the way we work, shop, and interact. Recognizing that, Mayor Breed and a bunch of the team here released a roadmap right at the end of the COVID emergency in February 2023 to deal with the changes as the state of emergency ended. That roadmap, and we'll talk over it, focuses on 5 priorities, right? An economically diverse and resilient job engine, a welcoming, clean, and safe environment, and you heard a lot of that in Mayor Breed's priorities, a dynamic destination that's active all the time, a world-class transportation experience, and that's a fight we're gonna have to keep working on with you, and an equitable economy that everyone can participate in. And I'm going to go over each and every one of our 9 strategies, but the reason I'm here with you today and the reason the mayor came to make this important in front of you is that we launched this roadmap to make progress in our city and move us forward. We have made progress. You are our partners in getting the word out about that progress. You are our partners in helping to move the city forward on the next 6 months that we're moving, that we need, where we have more initiatives that the mayor highlighted to move forward. And we need you to help us on both fronts. Get the word out and help us move forward. What you have in front of you is a 2-pager that's going to contain almost everything I'm going to go over. And we wanted to make sure that every one of your organizations had this. It'll be on our website. We can give you more, and I'm happy to talk about it wherever needed. But we want something easy to be shared with the public and with everyone who cares about where we're going and what we're doing and the progress we've had so far. So everything I'm going to cover is on that 2-pager. I'm just going to give you the details so that you feel comfortable sharing it as our ambassadors with all of your partners, all the outreach that you do to your various member organizations, and can continue to spread the word about what is happening already in San Francisco. All right, strategy 1, ensure downtown is clean, safe, and inviting. There's a bunch of improvements we've made under that, and the mayor touched on some of them. A big part of it is we've strengthened the SFPD. We funded over 220 new police officers in the budget that was passed this summer. We expanded recruitment and retention strategies. The result of that, and you can see that in the picture on the left, was the largest police academy in 3 years. We've also increased starting pay so that we are among the highest starting pay in the Bay Area, and we are very competitive to join the police force. We've expanded our ambassador programs. We've deployed retired police officers to supplement the footbeats. And we've budgeted nearly $50 million to support those programs of non-police community safety professionals out on our streets as we move forward. And then homelessness obviously continues to be a priority for the city in addressing, and it's going to be a challenge, but we're making headway on that challenge. 600 new shelter beds were funded through the new budget. Over 1,000 permanent housing placements were funded in the new budget. And we have all sorts of capacity to expand our mental health care and addiction programs to deal with the services that Mayor Breed mentioned. As we're doing Rest on the Streets, we want to put people in the right place moving forward so that they have success and we have success on our streets. One back. There we go. All right, strategy 2. Attract and retain a diverse range of industries and employers. And there's a whole bunch of ways we're doing this. I mean, the one thing that I think Rodney heard me say just a couple days ago, and I will continue to say it, San Francisco is open for business and all kinds of business, right? Everyone from our biggest businesses and our technology companies to our smallest local coffee shops are part of our economic recovery, and we're here to support them in whatever we can. Some progress that we've made just in recent months, we extended tax relief for the most impacted businesses from COVID: retail, restaurants, hospitality, arts and entertainment. We passed, as a part of Mayor Breed's new budget, an office attraction credit to help new businesses come in and locate or grow in San Francisco. And we launched, and this is really exciting, and Mayor Breed mentioned we need your support on this, a tax reform process so that we can make our business tax system more resilient, more competitive, and more balanced, and frankly, more sane. And that is really important as our companies that are staying here and growing here. Mayor Breed went over the stats that we're seeing, but they're very encouraging. While our office attendance isn't where we want it to be and where it's going to land, we've seen more growth than any other city in the last year, right? Our year-on-year increase in office attendance exceeded every other major American city. Yes, we started a little further behind because of our over-reliance on tech, but we're moving forward, and that's what we want to see. All right, strategy 3, facilitating new uses and flexibility in buildings. This spans everything. It's not just residential conversions, it's institutional uses, it's arts uses, it's the most creative office and workplace uses that we can think of. Mayor Breed led legislation to amend a number of city codes to ensure that our C3 has flexible zoning. We're continuing to examine other areas so that we can accommodate the widest possible range of activities and uses. For example, we've got a burgeoning office sector in AI in the Mission. We're going to figure out how do we make that so that companies can grow and locate there, and that we don't have things on the books that inadvertently stop the progress that we want to make in our neighborhoods. We've established an adaptive reuse program to facilitate the conversion of underutilized underutilized office buildings into housing. As we mentioned, the code changes, the permitting changes that have been made there. What we're also trying to do as a next step is identify partners to actually facilitate individual conversions. And with planning, we released an RFI. We've gotten 6 responses to that of actual buildings and actual partners where we can hopefully move forward on a conversion. And as Mayor Breed mentioned, we're working on plans to bring more public employees downtown, whether it's through the school district, City College, or the city and county of San Francisco itself. Some of you may know the mayor sent a letter to those companies about a month ago, to those agencies, the school district, our city administrator, and City College about a month ago, asking for them to examine what we need moving forward. We've gotten those reports from those partner agencies. And so right now we're working through that analysis and working with those partners to see what opportunities can we take advantage of to grow the real estate needs in places where we want to see activity. All right, strategy 4, make it easier to start and grow a business. And there's a whole bunch of, I mean, anyone who's ever tried to open a business in San Francisco knows how Byzantine our system, I'm going to say was, because we are making significant progress on that. The first year free program has been a dramatic success. 4,873 businesses have taken advantage of that. New businesses starting their first set of permits through the city of San Francisco. And that means new businesses like the Dawn Club, where several of you joined me and Rodney last week, that are open and thriving for business. We're continuing to match aspiring entrepreneurs and actual vacant spaces downtown through our Vacant to Vibrant program. Really glad Simon is here. We're going to be launching our first cohort of that set in our partnership with SF New Deal in early September, and we've got more cohorts to go. So what you're going to see opening in September is just the first start of what we're going to be able to do through that Vacant to Vibrant program. And we're continuing to support our small businesses moving forward. We're providing grants, loans, and training for both new and existing small businesses. And I just got an update this morning. We launched a program about 3 months ago through our Storefront Opportunity Grant program. And that provided, so far we have already awarded $1.1 million in training grants to small businesses who want to grow or expand their services and are receiving training through our office. And we've got 20 businesses who reached out to seek funds to open a new storefront in a vacant space. We expect even more. We have some language training that are going on for our entrepreneurs who are not native English speakers. And I think after we see that, we're going to see even more interest in those vacant storefront funds that are, and you're going to see real new businesses opening as a result of it. And the last, in terms of support, one thing I'll mention, Katie Tang in our Office of Small Business had worked on some great legislation that's going to facilitate over 100 changes to our planning code to ease the permitting of ground floor commercial spaces. It's a big deal. It's pending legislation. It's going to be for the Planning Commission in September. We want your support. I'm happy to reach out to any one of you to tell you who to send letters to and how to show up, because we need to move those changes forward if we care about small business. All right, strategy 5, grow and prepare our workforce. And this is across all industry sectors. What you see up here, I'm really excited about it, particularly as I learn about our workforce programs. Our workforce outreach has extended dramatically over the last couple years in hospitality, in healthcare, in the small business sector, and in the construction sector. And a big part of that has been our access points that we've grown through our neighborhood job centers. And we've got 4 of them right now that are continued to fund through the mayor's budget. What you see up here are all sorts of exciting events that you're going to see more of, right? We've got pictures from our healthcare academy, including one that we held at Chase Center. You see a couple of women from our women's construction cohort at Mission Rock, which is near and dear to my heart, where we had 33 women, I think, that started their careers in construction, and we're going to build that and grow that forward. We have our partners at MissionBit over here at the left who provide tech and coding training to high school and college students so we can get them on ramps into the companies that are really growing in San Francisco. We've got our EMT training program, which is a partnership with the Dream Keepers program, and you can see those at the bottom row. And that's been a really exciting growth and partnership. We continue to do more workforce programs with our Dreamkeeper initiative. So we're serving our African Americans within San Francisco and removing the barriers that have been there. And then we've got our Chinatown culinary program. Most of the people you see in this picture, I've been informed, were not native English speakers. So we're working across barriers to really grow and tap into the resources that we have through our international population and provide that benefit that we have through our small businesses so our residents can tap into that great food that they provide. And our Park Stewards program in a picture with Mayor Breed. Some points about that. Just in the first 6 months of 2023, we enrolled over 2,600 San Franciscans in workforce services. And over 2,000 of those came from our neighborhood job centers as referrals. So those are actual people who are receiving jobs just in the first 6 months of this year in San Francisco. All right, strategy number 6, transform downtown into a leading arts and culture and nightlife destination. We have a lot of work to do on this, and this is certainly a nascent effort within our roadmap, but even as it's nascent, you can see some successes. We've started in the last 6 months so many activations and events downtown and throughout the city. Images you see up here are Bhangra and Beats Night Market, which we still will have a 3rd event of that coming in September. We saw over 10,000 people on average at the 2 events we've had already. And those people spent almost $90 on average downtown when they came outside of the Bhangra and Beats Festival. We've got Union Square in Bloom. We've got the undiscovered SF block parties, one of which just happened this last weekend. The World Cup watch parties were a great success. We drew crowds of over 4,000 people to those village events with 33 vendors who all, as I'm told, sold out of their food and beverages. It was that big a success. And then I mentioned Undiscovered, which is our partnership with Soma Filipinas, happened last weekend, and that brought in an average of 6,000 attendees per event. Strategy number 7, enhance public spaces to showcase downtown. There's a lot going on here. One of them will open on Thursday. Our Downtown Civic Center Carnival is going to open up Thursday evening. And that will just be a launch of a series of improvements, including the new skate park that will continue to recapture our spaces in Civic Center for San Franciscans. Our shared space program became permanent this year. We're excited about that, and we're going to continue to work with businesses through the pain points to make sure that they're allowed to use our public streets and spaces to support their businesses. Landing at Leadsdorf is going to open in early September. That's another downtown public space that's going to be recaptured through Robbie's work in the Downtown SF Partnership. We're excited about that. And then we're funding efforts to reinvigorate Powell Street, which is a critical part of our recovery. And the first workshop for those street improvements is happening tonight. So folks should see Marissa if you want to go and can go. All right. Strategy number 8, invest in transportation connections to maintain access to downtown. And let's be honest, funding for transportation has been a challenge through the pandemic and will continue to be a challenge. We're really excited about the funding that was secured for public transportation to prevent service cuts right now. And we're really thankful to Senator Wiener for his support on that. We're also working with him on his legislation for additional funding so that we can not see further cuts moving forward. But it's going to be a challenge, and we're going to need all of your support on that, because what makes downtown work is our transit system, and that is at risk. And so we're going to need to keep fighting for funding to move this forward through our pain points. Even while we're going through those pain points of funding, we've launched a number of programs to increase downtown accessibility. We launched the One California pilot. We increased morning rush hour service on that pilot because we already saw growth. We developed a partnership with Golden Gate Transit to add more capacity for other downtown bound trips from the Marina and Cow Hollow, so we get people down into our offices. We launched the California Line Cable Car Day Pass, and that sold close to 10,000 more cable car tickets on the California Line than our normal operations were before we opened that pass. And as the mayor mentioned, the result of all of those things is we continue to see Muni daily boardings increase. We continue to see BARC weekday ridership increase. We want them to increase more. We want to make sure we support that service moving forward so we don't see it decrease again if service decreases. All right, and the last strategy, and this is a big one, and so many of you in this room are contributing to our efforts on this. They are critical. Tell our story, right? Our city, as Mayor Breed emphasized, is not what the national media would like you to believe. The analogy I like to use is we're the Yankees in a slump, and everybody is so excited to point to that slump. But we need to point out the ways we are having success, right? We were successful for a long time. People want to see us fail. We can prove them different. And there's so many things going on, from the Always San Francisco visitor campaign that SF Travel is leading, the Heart of SF social media campaign that Advance SF is helping us leading, the work that we're doing on APEC, which will launch in September and will be very strong and showcase San Francisco on an international stage, and some private sector efforts that are out there happening, both through local philanthropists and just local residents who start social media campaigns about the good things happening in San Francisco. We all need to contribute to those efforts. I'm so thankful for the media that's been supportive over the last couple months as we have seen progress. So all of us need to help tell that story wherever we can. This 2-pager we handed out to you guys is part of that. Dreamforce, when it comes, is going to be part of that. APEC is part of that. We need to expand our audience to the good things that are happening in San Francisco beyond this room so that people on the national and international stage can recognize that. So that was a lot. I just wanted to make sure you guys have the points that when you go out to all of your members, you can help trumpet this work. We're 6 months in. We've got a lot more work to do in the next 6 months, right? We're excited to be working with all of you to get it done, and there's a lot. Mayor Breed has been out to a number of businesses already this summer, and she's got a packed agenda this fall. We want to talk to as many companies as we can, both those that are here and those who want to be here, to increase investment in San Francisco. So we'll continue to do that roadshow through the fall. We have our inclusionary housing amendments, which we think are going to stimulate a lot of construction in San Francisco. And we're working on an affordable housing bond so that some of that construction is towards our supportive and affordable housing needs that the mayor prioritizes as well. And then the change that the mayor mentioned to right-size and rationalize our tax system. These are all big efforts that we're going to need to work on this fall over the next 6 months. So stay with us, stay tuned, keep working with us, and we're excited about the next 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Phillips, thank you. Mayor Breed, thank you very much. This is all very exciting news. And when you start to put it together in this kind of 9 strategies, I think you start to see all of the work that's being done here. The business group behind you represents tens of thousands of companies, employees, big and small, and employers, hundreds of thousands. And so we get the assignment to try to advocate, to share this good word, to get this out to our member companies and have them advocate for all the great opportunities that are here in San Francisco before us. There are a couple of minutes for some questions from the business community, if you have any for the mayor or for Director Phillips.
Must mean we're doing great, right?
No questions? Okay, yeah. Great.
Annie here with the Essex Standard. I had a couple questions. We've written about the letter that Mayor Breed sent to the University of California, and I just wondered if there were any tangible updates on that, whether you received a response on the possibility and the viability of that campus.
So just to be clear, there is interest from the UC system. We are not in a position to talk specifically about it, but we have been in touch with the UC administrator, as well as conversations with UC Berkeley and UCSF with the chancellor there. So we can't say, I know that there's interest in housing, there's interest in lab space, and for the most part, there are preliminary conversations that are happening there. I also think that, the other conversation we're having is with City College. They have a campus that's completely underutilized, that's within the 4th and Mission area. So we're definitely having conversations about the entire area, how we can collaborate and work together. And as soon as we have something a little bit more tangible, I think that that's when we'll share it with the public. But I think that there are some real possibilities here.
And then, if I may, one follow-up. You mentioned the soccer stadium idea a couple times, and similarly, I wondered if there are active conversations.
There are active conversations, and right now we are working with the architects Gensler and to develop some preliminary design work on what potentially is possible. And I'm pretty excited about, when we're able to share that with the public, we will, but I'm really excited about what that's going to do. We, of course, want to give people an understanding of what could happen and get a developer and others excited about making investments into this stadium as a way to diversify what happens in the downtown area. We're talking about, BART, Muni, our transportation system right there, our cable cars right there, and the potential for a place that could not only host various soccer matches, including potentially matches with FIFA, but also concerts and other activities that will compete with the Shoreline and other venues, because in Chase Center we have about 18,000 seats there, and this could maybe serve up to about 25 or even more. So we hope to be able to share that information with the public fairly soon and potentially get the ball rolling. But there have been a lot of other interest in the Westfield Mall. There have been interest in the various hotels that made announcements a couple of months back, and so my hope is that we'll start to see some good news come as a result. I want to also just mention IKEA is opening tomorrow, and the store looks amazing, and that they had a friends and family weekend this weekend. They said it was packed and lines were out the door. So when they open tomorrow, I think that's going to be another exciting opportunity for mid-market area of San Francisco, and my hope is that we start seeing a real vision for transforming downtown in a different way.
Mayor Breed, Joe Fitz, KQED. You talked about Muni and BART's importance to downtown's recovery. I wonder if you could comment on the kind of the pause on Senator Wiener's bridge toll idea to fund Muni and BART. How important was that to getting Muni and BART recovered and in a place to support downtown? And how worried are you about that measure going forward?
Well, I think that, transportation and the expense of transportation has gone up considerably. And we are at a place where we have to start thinking about how do we fund this, not just now and maintain a decent level of service, but we just opened the new Central Subway, increasing our capacity, making sure we have the infrastructure necessary to move people around. Under the housing element, we have another 82,000 units that we need to build in the next 8 years. And so how do we get those people to use things other than their vehicles? I mean, transportation resources are significant because materials and supplies and labor are very expensive. And so as we continue to delay the option to get important resources like that, it just puts us at a bit of a disadvantage. We are fortunate that this past budget, we kind of got a bit of a lifesaver, but that's not going to be sufficient for the long-term strategy around increasing changes to our public safety and, our public transportation infrastructure.
So back to IKEA, some people are certainly excited, but some are skeptical. They're using it as an opportunity to go back to this doom loop narrative. What from your plan do you feel like will make them successful and make more companies want to take that same gamble on San Francisco?
So I'm going to take complete credit for getting IKEA to come here, but it's true because they were here for Jerry Brown had that big event, that summit around the environment, and they were in town and they were looking around, and I immediately had a meeting with them and said San Francisco is where you want to be. And over the months, we had these conversations about the kind of store because, these are they usually furniture warehouses, but, they wanted to launch a new option, and especially, San Francisco and our history and our record around sustainability and the environment is why they felt this was the perfect place for them to do it. And people are going to continue to talk about this narrative and this doom loop, and it's really unfortunate because oftentimes the same people who are talking about that and writing stories and publishing things in the paper are not people who actually live here and who are experiencing San Francisco. They're taking the videos from a moment or the worst case scenarios of what's happening in San Francisco and then running with that rather than speaking from a place of experience directly. And I think that's unfortunate. And it's why our local press is so important because our local press can't be the ones to feed into that narrative. I'm not suggesting that you don't be honest and report the news and do what's necessary to talk about that. But who in the press talked about this crowded event of beer, pizza, and bagels in North Beach, which you couldn't even get. It was sold out. It was super packed. It was super exciting. We had businesses from all over San Francisco. It was an amazing event along with so many other things that happened this past weekend. And so we need to start talking about what is actually happening in San Francisco and our various experiences. I was on Fillmore Street this weekend in the Upper Fillmore. I couldn't believe how many people were out and about shopping in the various stores, buying ice cream, eating in some of the restaurants. I'm familiar with Fillmore Street. I have not seen it this packed in a really, really long time. So there are a lot of great things that are happening all over San Francisco, and it is important that along with reporting the news, that we report what is actually happening, that we report as soon as a store closes, it's like all of a sudden, it's like no conversation around the challenges of retail. Or whether or not anybody has even stepped foot in Nordstrom's in I don't know how long. Nobody talks about that, but they talk about the closure. But we're not talking about Yves Saint Laurent or Chanel and others who are expanding their stores in the downtown area, expanding their footprint, or Neiman Marcus who's doing better than they've done in a really long time in those luxury brand retailers. And now we have a place like IKEA where the expense, it's affordable for everyday San Franciscans, and in light of the housing and all the things we're going to do, in light of the work we've done with people who are living in the Tenderloin, people who are struggling with poverty, IKEA, I think, is going to be a perfect fit for a lot of different people. And their goal is not to not include the surrounding community. They want to be a part of the community. They want to work with the community. They've already been working with a number of community-based organizations trying to figure out ways in which they can be a real partner and give back. And they're hiring from the community. So I think between the ambassadors, their staff, and other great things that they're doing, I think it's going to be a huge success. Are we going to need to continue to work hard for the mid-market area? Yes. But we have people like IKEA. We have property owners in that area, including the folks who, the Flood family who owns the Flood building, and others who are really committed to making changes and making investments into this area. And I am optimistic about what it's going to deliver. So I say instead of, guessing what it might do, let's wait and see.
Mayor Breed, J.D. Morris from the Chronicle. I was wondering what you think about the Hayes Point development, ceasing construction over there on Van Ness Market, and what that says about, building new housing in San Francisco.
I think the cost of building in San Francisco is expensive. Now, since 2018, we've introduced and passed by voters another 14 taxes, I believe. Like every time you look around, it's a tax for this, it's a fee for that, it's a this. And so when you look at the cost, I mean, developers are going to make their money. The business community, like people are in business to make money, so they're not going to shy away from their expenses of what they think they're going to walk away with. So where does that money get tacked onto? It gets tacked on to the various units and all of the other things that come with that, including all the city's expensive fees and requirements and everything else you can think of. And that doesn't help us get housing built. This is one of the first most environmental, sustainable buildings we build in San Francisco that provides, not only office and business, but also housing. It's like the perfect use for mixed and this green infrastructure stuff that they're doing with this building. So it's a real loss to the city that they've had to pause, and they won't be able to aggressively move forward because of the expense related to the development of this project. So I think that what we've recently done with the inclusionary housing fees will be of help, hopefully, to this project. But we got to do so much more. We have companies who are saying it's not worth it for us to come back into the office because it's cheaper for us to not have employees in the office based on the city's tax structure and what we charge people. We cannot continue to add on all these expenses just because these companies can, they technically can probably afford to pay it, but they don't have to pay it. They could choose to go other places. And what does that mean? That means we lose the taxes, we lose the benefit of the people of San Francisco having job opportunities in our city. So we lose so much when we continue to pile on tax, fee. You can pay it because you're rich. You know what? I wish they would pay it because they're rich, but the reality is that's not going to happen. So we have to make some significant adjustments, and my hope is that the changes will get this project on the right path. The developer has said, we're committed, we want to finish this project, but financially right now, it's not possible. I want to make a correction to some of the things that I said earlier because I don't think I put them in the right context about the narcotics arrest. So year to date, 2023, 502 arrests. Last year, the entire total of narcotics arrests are 273. So that just gives you some perspective. The fentanyl that was seized last year total, 71.6 pounds. This year, year to date, 197 pounds of fentanyl. That's 44.6 million lethal doses. And the reason why I wanted to put it in that perspective, these are just SFPD numbers. These are not Highway Patrol. These are not the Department, the Drug Enforcement Agency numbers, but these are just San Francisco police officer numbers. And the ability to do that has a lot to do with the changes that we made and investments in the department. So I just wanted to correct the record on that and put that into some perspective.
Mayor Reed, a report came out from Together SF, I think it was just today, talking about key recommendations for kind of giving you more ability to take folks off of commissions,
Let's not talk about me. Let's talk about anybody who's the mayor of the city.
Yes. Right. Anyone who's the mayor, very correct.
Yeah.
And to kind of give more power to the office of the mayor, have a little bit more mix of at-large supervisor seats, that kind of thing. I wonder if you can put that in context of your efforts here.
Yeah.
What efforts here could be easier for you to do to help San Francisco recover if those things were in place?
So I haven't read the report, so I can't speak to what the report said. But at the end of the day, mayors and members of the Board of Supervisors, they come and go. But the impact of the decisions that are made can live with us for decades. And it is important from my perspective, no matter who the mayor is, that an executive is able to do the job of being mayor and be decisive, make decisions, and move as aggressively as possible to solve the problems of the city based on what people expect. And I can use the COVID response as a perfect example. When I had the ability to make decisions, we were able to move fast. We used experts, we had, like a whole setup, and we saved lives. We did very unpopular things because the business community, frankly, was not, happy, but came along, and we made some really hard decisions. And San Francisco has gotten a lot of praise for saving lives because of this global pandemic, because of the ability of the executive office to do the executive job of being mayor without dealing with a lot of layers of bureaucracy of a bunch of people, and in some cases, people who aren't even elected and held accountable to the voters in the same way. And so the police department is, I'm going to use the police appointment process as an example to explain why this does not work. So years ago, Supervisor Peskin, before he was on the board again, took to voters a ballot measure to go from the mayor appointing members of the police commission to now the board gets 3 appointments and the mayor gets 4, but all of them have to go through the board of supervisors for approval. And I won't even talk about the number of quality candidates that I've sent through the board that have been rejected. But ultimately, who is being held accountable for public safety in this city? The mayor. People are like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And I'm being held accountable. The people who have the ability to send a recommendation of a police chief to me are the commission. I can't say, I want to hire this person, or I want this person to be my police chief. The commission has the ability to do that. None of them are elected by the people. They're appointed. They go through the board process. That's just too many cooks in the kitchen. If the mayor is going to be held accountable for public safety, the mayor should be able to hire and fire the police chief. If the mayor is going to be held accountable for transportation and what happens with infrastructure, the mayor should have direct ability to hire and fire the MTA director. Now, I'm not implying that that's what I'm planning to do, but the fact that so many of the department heads that work for the city are not directly accountable to me in a way that delivers for the people is what the problem is with the current system, because there are too many cooks in the kitchen, too many different people, everybody's the head chef, and that's part of the problem. Now, to be clear about this in this process, I do think that a police commission is needed, because there needs to be the thing around disciplinary action, around public input, officer-involved shootings, all the various reforms we're doing. But when it comes to the leadership of the department or any department in San Francisco, any mayor in this position, the way that they're successful is having the direct ability to be held accountable for the department heads that they hire. And that's how you kind of move to a better direction. Companies are wondering why we can't run San Francisco like a business. We can't because of bureaucracy. But I want to be clear, public input is important, advocacy is important, commissions are important, but they have gotten so complex that even, the ability to be as effective as you want to be and move things faster has been impacted. And my hope is that we'll get to a better place.
That's it. Thank you so much.
You're with the press, or?
No,
Okay.
Adrian Cover with the Bay Area Council. We were you're talking about IKEA opening tomorrow morning. Another thing that's happening tomorrow morning is the Ninth Circuit is going to be hearing the
Thank
case
you.
about this preliminary injunction that prevents the city from referring unsheltered people into shelters. And since that is a key part of your strategy, one, I was wondering if you had any comments about the case or words of warning to the other cities in the Ninth Circuit.
Well, I certainly do, and I'm going to be at the rally tomorrow to advocate for on the one hand, we have a court decision made about the Tenderloin under the Hastings lawsuit that says you have to clear all encampments and clean up the streets, right? On the other hand, we have this case that says you can't move people unless you have a place for everybody. And this has been very challenging because the way the city works, even if we have something for everyone, we still can't force people into shelter or to housing or what have you. Since I've been mayor since 2018, we've added, another 5,000 placements on top of the 10,000 that we've already had to help people. It's why we saw a reduction in unsheltered homelessness by about 15%. Was that the point in time count last year? We saw a reduction because we've been, building up our capacity. But we can't just have a place for everybody, nor can we force everybody, even if we did, into a place. And I think the biggest challenge we have is we need the ability to at least clear the sidewalks and try and get people into treatment. We never clear unless we're offering an alternative. And you know, the case, just to use an example of a little bit of the abuse, is, you know, the person who's at the Pottery Barn on Castro and Market, who basically refuses to move, who we've gotten into shelter and decided to leave. And you know, when we were trying to move the encampment and clean the sidewalks, pulls out his cell phone and said, let me call my lawyer before I do anything, right? And my problem with that is, I get that people suffer from mental illness. I get that they suffer from addiction, and I know that those things are complicated. But if we have a place for people to move, we should not be forced to just allow people to be on the sidewalks and street. We couldn't even let the beer, pizza, bagel festival use the sidewalks a certain way during their festival, but then we can let people just live on our sidewalks, and that's okay. That's a problem, you know? So our plan is to try and get them to reverse their decision, and we're prepared to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. We are not backing down. David Chu and his team have been doing a really great job, and we have to be able to clear and clean up the streets. And it's not okay. What's happening right now is making it difficult for us to remove encampments. And I just want to take us back. Remember, under the freeway and in certain areas and the freeway entrance and exits, we've been able to clean and clear those things out and to get people into treatment, into some shelters that we've built. So we're not just saying move, we're saying come with us and let us get you on the right path. And that is continuing to be a struggle. But if you can join us there tomorrow at 9 a.m., I think it's 7th and Mission. Yeah, Mission. Right in front of the federal building. Yes. So if you can join us there, we're rallying. We want to get people fired up because, you know, we're not criminalizing homeless, but we're saying this is not going to continue to happen in the same way it is. We have been a compassionate city, but we have tolerated a lot much too long, and it's going to be at the expense of being able to develop the resources necessary to help the people we're trying to help.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right.
I really appreciate you coming
Thanks.
out today. Thank you. I want to thank the mayor and the director, Phillips, for coming out and thanking of all of our partners for being here today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.